here on Eddie Trunk Live, Trunk Nation, Sirius XM 39. Our live get-together on Mondays, 6 to 10 Eastern, 3 to 7 Pacific, with music and talk that rocks. And we're going to talk for a little bit right now with an old friend who has several bands going on and much to talk about with him. It's always good to catch up with them. It is Doug Aldrich. How are you, brother?
Hey, Eddie. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm very good. Are you a Nugent fan?
Yes, I love Ted. And I saw Ted swing on the rope when I was a kid with his in his underwear. And it was killer, man.
You saw Ted in the loincloth?
In the loincloth, Spectrum in Philly. And it was pretty cool, but I loved it. I mean, probably my all-time favorite song is Stranglehold. I love that tune.
Yeah, and you know what's amazing? Derek St. Holmes sings that song, and he can still sing it that well.
I know. I saw him actually at the NAMM show for a minute. I was there for about 2 seconds and bumped into him and just a few other people. But he looks great, and yeah, he sings his ass off still.
So listen, man, so much stuff to talk with you about. But before we get into your bands and everything, I want to find out from you, because there was a little news made, I guess, the end of last week between yourself and Dee Snider. So can you shed some light on that? Do you know Dee Snider, and do you know why he he since apologized on Twitter for singling you out? But have you ever had? He did.
Okay, I didn't know. Somebody said something about it. Here's all I know is we've done gigs together, Twisted and Whitesnake, and I never really met Dee that I can remember. We've done a couple of tribute things together where we did, I think we did Crazy Train for a tribute record together, and it turned out pretty cool. But, I mean, I got no problem with the guy. It hit me out of the blue. I was up late scouring eBay looking for old guitars, as I do at night a lot, and I got a message that there was, that Dee had posted something, and I went on there, I was like, that is just bizarre, man. What is up with that? So it's normally Dee. Everybody knows Dee's a super smart cat. He's a huge star, and I just thought, this is weird. It was like he was not educated at all and just kind of spouted out this thing. So I just tried to educate him a little bit of where I came from with Whitesnake, and then I just tagged it with a little smackdown quick.
But when you say educate, you mean in your reply to his tweet, it wasn't a case where you guys never spoke directly, right?
No, I mean, I think I know what set this whole thing off, actually, but Well,
here's the thing. I do too, because a couple things. You are now living in Vegas, correct?
Kind of, yeah. I'm back and forth.
Okay, now Dee recently moved to Vegas. And
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he could be your neighbor. I don't know.
Well, actually, I saw that when he was something. He was. I thought he might be doing Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp or something. I didn't know he lived here, but that's interesting, and it's funny that you know kind of what's going on, because it was just like, dude, this is stupid. We should be not talking about this kind of stuff. Let's keep it to the music. But what did he tell you? What did he say?
Well, here's the thing, and this was what I found funny about the whole thing, is that somehow when this happened, I had 3 people call me or reach out to me. Right after it went on Twitter was Dee, who wanted to come on this show and discuss this, and Dee and I traded voicemails and text messages, but the scheduling didn't work out because I wanted to have him on and get his take on it and see where he was coming from, and maybe we'll do that at some point. Then you got in touch with me, unrelated to the whole Dee thing, because you wanted to talk about what we're going to talk about in a minute, and this band Revolution Saints. And then shortly after, like as this thing festered for a couple days on Twitter, David Coverdale reached out to me and with a text, and he goes, "What's up with Dee Snider talking about my boy Doug?" He goes, "Doug was a huge part of this band." And
no, but here the thing is that I mean, it's all as like Tom Aldrich would say, it's much ado about really.
Well, totally.
But I mean, I called you before this whole thing went down, and you said, okay, in a couple weeks I'll have you on, because I basically wanted to reach out to you and say, have you heard this record, and blah blah blah. But the Dee thing happened, and then somebody said that he said that I was getting all this fame or something from his tweeting about me, and man, I don't give a shit. I'm not. I don't want that kind of press. I mean, I feel like I felt like I was in a tabloid for a second. You know,
I know. Well, that's just it. Well, welcome to the world of social media. But the thing is, and for people that don't know what Dee was talking about, in a nutshell, it's this: Dee was talking about guys that use bands they were in as credits when they didn't really have, in his view at least, a major impact or a major contribution to the history of the band. And my take on it, and my speculation, is that now that Dee, you're doing a show in Vegas called Raiding the Rock Vault, and I know even before you were in Rock Vault, Tracy Guns was doing the show, and on his credit, under his name, they even listed Guns N' Roses, which was a little bit of a reach for Tracy, as he would admit himself.
Right.
Now,
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about that, but all I could do really was I can tell you that from my perspective, they got billboards of me around town where it says Doug Aldrich, formerly of Whitesnake, and so I think Dee was probably driving home one night and saw it and was like, "What the fuck is why?" You know. But the thing of it is, look, man. Everybody knows what I've done with Whitesnake. I'm super proud of what I did with Whitesnake, and I definitely put my stamp on the band. I'm unfortunate that I couldn't work it out schedule wise, and I had to leave. But I'm very proud with what David and I did, and David's my bro. It's all good. I don't know what he can talk about other guys, to them, but he's talking about me and Whitesnake, and he didn't know what he was talking about.
Well, that's just it. See, and if he would have come on with me, and I've known Dee forever, and we're friends as well, and I would tell him my feeling about it if we discussed it, but I think you can make that case with some people. Like, I think Tracy Guns himself would even say crediting him as being a member of Guns N' Roses is quite a stretch. But for you actually made 2 studio records with Whitesnake, live records, DVDs, and did countless world tours. So for you, it was probably the wrong road to go down to single you out of all the people he could have made that case with, because you actually had a very big role in Whitesnake for a good period of time.
Well, yeah, I mean, the turnaround has gone with Whitesnake over the years, but the bottom line is David is Whitesnake, and
without a doubt,
he's always had great players, and he's got new great players now. But the thing is that I get it. What Dee's talking about, he could have called somebody else out. Calling me out was a mistake, and that's where, if I was Donald Trump, I'd tell him, Dee, you're fired.
Yeah. Well, that's just the point. I mean, that's exactly my point, and I think that.
But Eddie, let me say one thing. Let me say one thing more to that point. The thing about Tracy Guns, I think he was in business for a minute or whatever. And okay, that's a gray area, right? But Tracy's a friend of mine. I didn't know that. But I'll say this: look, you look at sports, and you look at, for example, you look at the Patriots and Tom Brady and what he's done. I'm not comparing myself to Tom Brady by any stretch. It's nothing to do with that. But it's like an example where, okay, in a few years, maybe Tom Brady goes away and they get a new guy. Listen, man, the Patriots were famous before Tom Brady, and the Patriots will be famous after Tom Brady. But when Tom Brady goes to do a signing, he's going to go Tom Brady of the Patriots, right? And that's exactly what I do. And that's what I do.
And why not? I mean, you see, here's the thing. You, again, and Dee on Twitter since said he apologized for singling you out in all this, because I think maybe if he took a closer look, he realized that you were one guy that actually did play a big role. But you can't, anybody that's ever, if you talk about Whitesnake alone, there's 50 guys probably that could put the credit formerly of Whitesnake. You actually had a big part of it.
Well, all I can do is tell you that it's guys like Ronnie Dio and David Coverdale that put me on the map, and Lady Gaga. I got to give it up for Lady, but like I got no response out of you.
What did you do with Lady Gaga?
I wrote a song. No, I didn't write it. I played on her last record.
You did?
But yeah.
I had no idea.
Yes, man, and that's what is funny is that when it was awesome, man. I went down.
But wait, you don't put under your name formerly of Lady Gaga.
No, because nobody knows it. Actually,
I don't know it either.
They spelled my name wrong, but I told you guys on the metal show. You guys were joking about it. But you got a lot going on.
Yeah, I do.
So this is what happened. I go down there, And she comes in. She's like, "Man, I want you to wail," and all this stuff. And
Wait,
so
where did you? Hold on, wait, back up a little bit. Where did you meet Lady Gaga that she came up to you to hire you for her record?
She didn't come up to me. Her producer is her engineer producer, a buddy of mine called him. He always works with a lot of people like, pop people, and he works with like Will Smith and Jada and all this stuff. And he's always asked me to do things, and I could never do it because I was always with David, working 1,000%, always with David. So one day I happened to be home, and he called me, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to play on a Lady Gaga track tomorrow?" And I said, "Yeah, what time?" He goes, "Be here at 9 a.m, bring a Marshall and a Les Paul, and knock it out." So I go down there, and she walks in, and she's like, "All right, come on, shred, do your thing, Whitesnake, yeah." So I just started to get involved with Twitter. I just signed up for Twitter, and she said, "Hey, what's that thing you're playing?" So I said, "Well, that's called an amplifier. It's got tubes and everything. It makes it sound really good, And she goes, "Can I take a picture of that and tweet it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I thought, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm just learning this social media thing. So I just got done doing a session with Lady Gaga, and then my Twitter went crazy and started freaking out. And her management called and said, "Please do us a favor, take it down because Lady Gaga wants to be the one to announce stuff and blah, blah, blah." But I did take it down, but before I took it down, a girlfriend of hers that was in the studio hanging out retweeted it. So it was out there. So it got out there. And then all of a sudden, all over the place in the UK, MTV UK, and all this press, Whitesnake and Gaga were, collaborating on a new record, all this stuff. And the funniest thing was David, of course David is awesome. He goes, "Well done, Douglas. Well done." So it was just funny, but I mean, anyway, the thing with Dee, I got no problem. I love his singing. I love the early stuff that he did. I was just rocking out with my boy in the car to "I Want to Rock," and those videos are classic. But I mean, I get the point that he's saying. It's business, man. All these guys. There are a lot of guys out there that are not like Dee, and they are guns for hire. And, they got to do what they got to do, and they may use a name, but I definitely do not take liberties with, I pay full respect to David and what he's done, but I also know that most people who know me because of David and Whitesnake. So that's what I would say. I'm from formerly of Whitesnake.
And you should not, and I would say this to Dee if he was on with me right now, and he may be on next week or whatever, but I would say this to him. In a case with you specifically, you should not apologize or feel guilty at all about wearing Whitesnake as a credit, because again, it wasn't like you were a guy that was hired for a session and did a keyboard thing for one show and had a cup of coffee and left. I mean, you were David's right-hand guy for a long time. And there aren't a lot of guys. Listen, when you look at Whitesnake as a band, as I said, you said it yourself. Whitesnake is David Coverdale. A lot of people, you could name 50 people that have been in Whitesnake. And, the breakthrough in America was the 87 record. But a lot of people don't even know who actually made that 87 record because they saw the videos and those weren't the people. So if any band in the world to say that about Whitesnake is like a hodgepodge of a million different things, and it really all comes down to one guy in that band, and that's David. And that's no disrespect to all the other people and amazing musicians like yourself who have been in that band, but the band has always been built on one guy, and there's a lot of people that have the right to take credit for having played a role. You certainly had a huge role in it, as did John Sykes, as did Bernie Marsden, Mel Galley,
Adrian Vandenberg,
Tommy Aldrich, all these guys, Adrian Vandenberg,
and now Reb and Joel,
Rudy Sarzo was there for a long time. All these guys, they all had something to do with it. But at the end of the day, everybody knows it's David's thing. So I mean,
that's true. But the thing of it is that the reason why I just normally, I would have just left it alone because I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like. There's lots of people that don't like me. I learned that when I was in Dio, man.
Why? What are you talking about? I don't know people that don't like you.
No, I mean, it's not. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is as long as your family and your friends like you, then you're cool. But the thing is, with David put the band on hiatus, and he came back and he put this tour together. And I left Dio, and we started doing it, and it was all natural and really, really, really cool. And we started to collaborate and write. And it was the greatest point so far that creating music was times with David when we didn't have any pressure. We weren't trying to make a record. It just happened. But it turned out that in the end we did a lot of songs together, more than probably I think more than anybody had ever written with David. So I felt really I would be selling myself short if I didn't let Dee know that, and that's all I wanted to do.
Well, you should. I mean, listen,
that's it.
For sure. And listen, in this. We're in a crazy. The social media world is so insane, and there's so much bogus stuff out there. But this was a case of two people, having a legitimate debate, discussion, dispute, if you will. And I think it's good that all sides are presented. So moving on.
Wait, hold on. Let me tell you one last thing so people know, because what happened is Dee had a show in Vegas. Now I didn't know Dee moved here, but Dee had a show in Vegas, and that show closed, as they do in Vegas. And a new show opened up a new show was picked up that was called Raiding the Rockfall. And it was at the Las Vegas Hilton, and it became the Las Vegas Hotel. And that's when Tracy and Howard and Rob McCauley and all these guys started getting together and putting Raiding the Rockfall show together, and John Payne from Asia. And then the show, took on a little different life. We got Hugh McDonald from Bon Jovi, who joined for the past year. I actually only signed on for 2 months, but then when the thing with Whitesnake went down, I stayed on. It's really cool, Eddie. It's not like your typical Vegas show where it's all safe and shit. Guitars get smashed. It's loud. It's live. There's no tapes or anything like that. And you got Howard Leaf, me, Hugh McDonald, as I said, Robin, Jay Shellen on drums. It's a killer band, and we're playing great tunes. And I'm trying to give you a little bit of a plug here because you haven't seen it. You got to come check it out.
No, I've been out there. I love Vegas. And I honestly, I tell people this all the time. Last week on this show, I had Danny Coker, who owns Vamped and does the County Car Show on. And I have so many friends in Vegas that are living there. And it's my favorite city. I go there for vacation all the time. And I'm threatening to move there somewhere down the line myself. But I've been there so many times. And when I get there, I have so much stuff going on that I haven't gotten out there to see the show. I actually was there the night the show very first opened, and I got invited out, but I just couldn't get there because there's so much going on in Vegas. So it's not for any reason, but I just haven't had downtime to get out there and see it. But I know tons of guys that have been in it. But I have to ask you something, because you mentioned Hugh McDonald is in it, who I know and is a real good guy, and you just said Hugh McDonald from Bon Jovi. Now, if Dee Snider, and I'm not trying to set anything up here, but I'm just saying, if Dee wanted to go at a guy, because I'm sure they're billing in Rock Vault Hugh McDonald's credit as being from Bon Jovi, right?
Of course.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, and I love Hugh, and Hugh should be called from Bon Jovi because he's played live with them for like 20 years and in studio for longer.
Exactly.
Right. But here's the thing. He is never credited on the records, and he's not in the pictures. So he, of course, was within his right to say he's in Bon Jovi, because if you go see Bon Jovi in the last 20, 25 years, you're seeing Hugh McDonald playing bass. But unlike you and Whitesnake, who was in the pictures and credited with the writing and on the records, he doesn't even get that.
Well, I think to me, that's like a gray area. But the most important thing for me is I don't care about all this kind of shit. I like playing music. I love playing guitar, and guys like Hugh. It's awesome, and it sounds like a kick-ass band. No offense to whatever other kind of cover supergroups are out there, but this is a really good one.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I love Hugh, and Hugh's a talented guy, but he's a guy, my point about that, what I was trying to make, Doug, is he's in a different category than you, in the sense that you truly were a member of Whitesnake, you were in all the pictures, you were on the records, you were credited, you were shown. Hugh has always been the behind-the-scenes guy in Bon Jovi. He played on records uncredited before he was even playing live with them. So he's got a huge history with that band, but he's never been given the credit.
Well, that's true. But the thing of it is that maybe, who knows what Bon Jovi would have sounded like with a different bass player. He's been all over that stuff. And for me, I don't know why he's not part of the band. I think he should be in every picture. But now the whole thing with Richie went down, so who knows what's going to happen with that. But
the way I know, I'll tell you what, from what I know about Hugh and the little bit I know him, and I've met him, he's a super guy. I don't think he gives a shit. Hugh's the kind of guy that, to me, is so happy to be getting a nice he gets a nice salary. He sees the world. He's a great player. He can still probably walk through airports without getting mobbed. He's got the best of all worlds. He's a low-key guy. I'm sure he's loving life.
Yeah, he is. And he's got a great missus, and they've been together a long time, and so he's just digging it. And it's like I said, the band is really cool. I get it that Dee saw something and he was like, "What the hell is this?" And you know what I was leading to was that Rock Vault show moved in after the Dee show left.
So you think he's a little bitter, a little jealous?
It wouldn't surprise me, but I mean, he shouldn't be because he's Dee fucking Snider. He doesn't have to worry about anything.
No, he just had a great run in Chicago with this Christmas show that he launched. So, listen, I'm sure I'll get into this with him in the next week or two. We were trying to do something tonight, but it didn't work out with his schedule. But, and ironically, like I said, you were scheduled to be on this show because long before any of this nonsense, you wanted to talk about music stuff you have going on. You mentioned Rock Vault, and you have this record with a band called Revolution Saints that is coming out when exactly?
I think it comes out next week, the 24th, I think.
So a week from tomorrow, and this is a trio that is Dean Castronovo from Journey on drums and lead vocals, Jack Blades on bass, yourself on guitar. Give me the story on this thing and how this came together and this band.
Okay, so late last year, or actually late in 2013, actually, when Whitesnake got done, we had finished up a tour, and I got a call from the president of Frontiers, and he said, "Hey, I'm putting together a solo record with that's going to be featuring Dean Castronovo," and I said, he goes, "Would you be? They'd like you to play on it, Dean." And Dean and I, we got to be friends, really friends on tour over the last few years. He's just the greatest guy, but I've known him for years because always Whitesnake and Journey would do festivals and whatever. And so I was like, yeah, I would love to. He's that guy. I would buy the record just for his drumming alone because he's just so fierce and he throws down every night. I used to love to go sit out and watch the first couple songs before we have to take off for the next town or whatever. But him and Neil together, and the whole band, that Journey band, especially live, is just, they're killer, man. It's fierce, and he throws down. He brings it every time, and so I was really excited about it. And then they had already kind of talked to Jack, who Jack's resume and his credits speak for themselves. He's an amazing songwriter, producer, and I had never met Jack, but been a fan of Night Ranger for years. It was a great guitar band, still is. And so he had already signed on, and somehow I agreed to play on the solo record, but it turned into a band thing all of a sudden. Serafino said, "Well, we're going to call it, we've got a name," and actually I think Jack came up with the name, but it just turned into a band project that is just still gaining legs. We're still at the early stages. So
the thing that struck me about listening to it immediately that I was shocked about was how much, and I know that in Journey, Dean sings some stuff live every once in a while, lead, but this guy sounds just like Steve Perry. It's crazy.
He's got a lot of that. He's also got his own thing too. Once you get deep into the record, you'll start to realize he does. There are those moments where he could do exactly Steve Perry, but he puts his own stamp on it, like we all did. I mean, you said to me off the air, you said, "Yeah, it sounds a lot like Journey," and it was written that way actually because that's originally what was for Dean to sing on and feature Dean. And to be honest, as much Jack is just stunning on the record and plays his ass off, and it was really fun to record that stuff. But Dean he's the shining star on the thing. That's really what it's about, And the idea that maybe he could do, maybe the idea down the road that we could do some gigs and get Dean from behind the kit for a few songs would be pretty exciting. But he's got his own thing. He put a stamp on it. We all tried to, we were given leeway. I was given leeway guitar-wise to put my stamp on it and try and, have it be so that fans of my work would go, "Oh, wow, this is cool. This is something really different for Doug, but it still sounds like him." So hopefully that's what we did.
Well, your playing on it is phenomenal, as everybody's is. I mean, you're playing, and Jack, who I've known forever, and I don't know Dean personally at all, but I mean, the three of you are a great unit. The thing that I would say about this, though, and this is a big peeve of mine, and I see it every day, is everybody these days has a million bands, and everybody puts out all these sort of records. But I'm going to be brutally honest. Most of them are done, over, forgotten a month after they come out, because nobody can commit to doing any sort of support for them. Everybody's in so many directions that they come out. And the reason, I understand why that happens, but why it sucks as a fan is that you get into some of these records, you get invested into these bands, and some of them never even do a live show. It's like they're just stuff that's just thrown out. And here we are as fans, like we buy it, we're into it, we're pumped for it if we like it, and then all of a sudden it's like everybody in the band's on to 15 other things the next month, and it's like, oh, I don't even know why I did that record. It happens constantly. From my vantage point, I have all these guys in here promoting these records, and 2 weeks later, I feel like, what did I just do? Because they obviously don't even care about it anymore. So it's a challenge to try to find ways to support these records. And Dean is in a major band with Journey.
Yes.
You've got things going on. Jack does a ton of stuff with Night Ranger. So the obvious question here is this a band? Does it have any legs? And do you think you're actually going to be able to really work this and have a run with it?
Well, it remains to be seen, but we all talked about it and we all want it to happen. We got together and we Jack and Dean were doing some vocals, we were doing some videos and some promo stuff. And the chemistry is definitely there. We played in a room, not recording, but we played, and I already knew from the get-go. I mean, Dean is that's the kind of drummer that I love, man. He just kicks your ass every time. And Jack outlines, with the guitar players he works with, he outlines their playing and makes it, maybe I think he makes everybody better for the way he plays. But to answer your question, we've had already some really substantial offers for tours from several different places, and we talked about it. We want to do it. We do, like you said, we do have to work around schedules a little bit. And my schedule really, I can float a little bit, but my schedule really, my commitment really right now is about family, is about being with my son. So that's my first priority, and my wife. And Journey is out there working this summer. So if this comes to fruition, we're going to have to work around their schedule, because it's not just Dean that Dean does very well with Journey. It's that Journey fans want Journey, and there's big business to be done, and a lot of people's jobs rely on Journey being on the road. So it's not out of lack. It wouldn't be out of lack of us not wanting to do it. We want to do it. We would love to play together, and we would love to put together a show where, like I said, where maybe Dean gets out from behind the kit and sings a few songs, and we had kind of like the way that Phil Collins used to do. And then we would do some songs, maybe some songs that I wrote with David, stuff like you talked, like Love Will Set You Free, but do it in the Revolution Saints way, in a really kind of a stripped-down Cream meets whatever, Revolution Saints kind of way. And same thing with a Night Ranger tune or whatever. So we could put together a kick-ass show, and there are some offers. We'll just see. We'll have to just see if it works out. But I get what you're saying, and I appreciate that, because I've been a fan of. Been a fan of bands like Black Country Communion, and never got to really see that band take it as far as I think they could.
Oh my God, the California Breed record, which came out last year, was my favorite record of the year. And that band's done already. I mean, at least they did a little bit of a tour, but they lasted 2 shows with the original band, and that was a trio as well. And then the band imploded and ended. I spoke to Glenn Hughes yesterday on the phone for a while, just catching up. And I mean, there's so many dynamics when you try to put these things together and try to make them go forward. And it's, again, from a fan standpoint, it's hard, because you get into this stuff and you're like, wait, that's over already? It's like, what just happened? So it's hard. And again, listen, I understand that as musicians, we're in a different universe as well, because it's hard to just hang your hat one place, because it's so hard to make a living doing this, to get traction anywhere. And everybody's going to go to where their bread is buttered. So Dean is always going to defer everybody's going to go where the guaranteed gig is and what makes the most sense. And I get that. I don't blame anybody. Everybody's got to make a living. I do the same thing. But it's hard because sometimes there's too many lines out there, and you can't even keep track of where these guys are.
Well, let's see what happens. I mean, this is more than a session. This is definitely, we're all into this for various reasons. But it's the pre-orders have been really kick-ass. It's number one in. I know this is a long ways away, but it's kind of a gauge. It's number one on Amazon in pre-orders in a couple of countries, most notably in Japan at the moment. Which is, I know there's that old thing about they love hard rock or whatever, so they're just going to buy everything. But it's not that way anymore. They really are. Everyone's gotten very selective, and especially in the UK, they're very excited about it. They want us to come play. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm into it. I'm ready to go. Just tell me where to plug in and when the flight leaves. I'm there.
The irony hasn't escaped me either that Jack Blades is in a band now with Whitesnake's former guitar player, and Whitesnake has Night Ranger's former guitar player replacing you.
Me and Joel planned it out. Me and Joel we concocted this whole thing because I'm just kidding. Listen, I love David. I want the best for him. I think he made a great choice with Joel, and Joel's going to be great with Reb, and he's got an amazing rhythm section. They got a new record ready to drop soon, so I know that they're going to do a bunch of touring, which of course I will feel bad about when that they're out there, but I got to weigh it against being with my 5-year-old that is just right now. That's what it's about, and that's what's so cool about being in. Listen, I was never in a cover band when I was a kid ever. Now I'm in maybe the most well-paid cover band in the world at this point. Maybe, I don't know, but they take good care of us, and I get to be with my son, and that's really what I'm into.
Yeah, and without getting into details publicly, your son has had some health issues lately, and I certainly hoping and praying for the best with him, that he continues to do well.
He's doing good, Eddie. Thanks, man. It's never fun to see kids, any kids in the hospital. It sucks, man. Especially when it's your own, and especially when they got to go back in a couple times and they get those IVs and stuff. It sucks, but one thing it did was inspire me about how strong Ryder is, and how he's a trooper, and it inspired me about a couple of things about that. I'd really love to find a way to I don't know if it's possible. I'd love to find a way to go into some of these places and play guitar a little bit for kids, because it would. I think there's no music in the hospital. It's really it would be cool to hear. Just bring some acoustic or a little practice amp and plunk around for 5 minutes. I think kids would just light up,
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'm sure. I mean, nothing worse than seeing a kid going through stuff like that. So I hope he's on the right side to recovery, man.
I just got to fatten him up a little bit. He dropped a bunch of weight. I'm just trying to figure out the best way. He can't be like pounding pizzas all the time or cheesesteaks.
Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice at our age to have that concern, to have to fatten up a little bit? Now you're always in insanely great shape, but for me, I would love for somebody to say to me, "Yeah, you got to put on a few pounds."
Well, actually, you do, Eddie. You're too thin, man.
Oh, get the hell out of here! I'll still play the record. Don't worry, Doug. Don't bullshit me. But no, seriously, man. I mean, I wish him all the best. And the other thing that you have is you're still doing some Burning Rain stuff too, right?
Yeah. We got some. We're actually doing a one-off in Moscow, and we're doing the Frontiers Music Festival in Milan, Italy, in April. And it was just something that came up. Actually, it was also offered to Revolution Saints, and Journey is in rehearsal at that time. So they asked if Burning Rain would want to go, and we were definitely into it. So we did a West Coast run actually in December. It was a lot of fun. We just piled in a van and did it old school, low budget, and we had a blast. And so, I mean, as long as there's gigs and I get to play guitar, I'm happy. And I just don't want to be away from home for 2 months at a time at the moment. Maybe down the road, but so it's kind of actually like with Revolution Saints, it would work out perfectly if after the Journey tour we put together 3 weeks or something in Europe and maybe a week in Japan and maybe do a couple shows in the U.S. kind of just to test the waters. And it could happen. We all three want it to happen, but we'll see. It remains to be seen.
And the last thing I wanted to tell you about is our dear departed friend, Mr. Dio, who is going to be 5 years gone in May, which is hard to believe. It's been 5 years already.
I know.
I don't know if you heard, but there's going to be some events in L.A. for the 5th anniversary of his passing, and I know I'm going to definitely be out there for some of them. So if you're around and available, it would be great. I'm sure Wendy will reach out to you or whatever to get you involved in some of the stuff. Yeah,
I mean, anything for Ronnie and anything for that cause. That's a good one. And Ronnie as I know he was for you. He's one of our all-time musical treasures. So,
yeah, absolutely. He's still missed, but the cool thing with him is he's so alive still because his music is still everywhere. Whether it's Rainbow, whether it's Dio, whether it's Sabbath, he's still such a huge part of everything I do, just as far as the stuff I play every week.
Hey, speaking of other guys that we lost that are anniversaries and stuff, but there's have you gotten that Randy Rhoads, the immortal Randy Rhoads thing?
Well, there's two of them now. There's one that Tishy did, and then there's one that Bob Kulick did. There's actually two Randy Rhoads tribute records at the same time right now. I don't know which is titled which.
Well, I think the one with Bob is the one I played on, which I would play on the one for Tishy if he. I think he was talking about doing another one later, but the Bob's is called Immortal Randy Rhoads, and I think Brian's is probably called Randy Rhoads Remembered.
That's correct. Yep, you're right.
Something like that, and the Tishy one I haven't heard actually either of them, to be honest with you. I only know the song that I heard a little bit of the track that Tom Morello did, which was great.
Hold on, I have it, Doug. I have it right here. Immortal Randy Rhoads, the ultimate tribute. I'm looking at the CD, and you're on Believer.
Yeah.
With Rudy Sarzo, Vinny Appice, and Ripper Owens singing.
Yeah. And it was a lot of fun, and the family was behind. I think probably the family is behind both projects.
They are, yeah.
And Brian, whatever Brian Tishy does is always killer. I mean, you know that as good as I do, and he is a huge Randy fan. So I'm sure it's going to be awesome. I hope that he does more. He's been promoting the live stuff along with the Bonzo Bash and all that stuff, where he would do it at the trade show, or sometimes he'll do a little run in South America or whatever. And he asked me to do the Randy thing with him. I just hadn't gotten to be able to do it at this point, but one day. But this Immortal Randy Rhoads has got some, in the way that Brian would do it, would be super heavy, and it would be just killer guitar and all that stuff. The way that the Immortal Randy Rhoads has got some very different versions, like the Tom Morello one. And from my perspective, I was trying to do something that would once again, like, put my stamp on what Randy did. Only Randy could, nobody can do Randy like Randy, but to try and pay respect to it and have it sound like me, if that was possible. So
well, I have that here, so I'm going to play it. So I'll play. Here's what we're going to do as I let you go here. We're going to do. You're going to do a Doug Aldrich triple assault here, and let me even see if I can find some of your Dio stuff as well.
Awesome, man!
And maybe we'll make it a 4-play if I can figure it out. But a little, and if I have some Burning Rain, who knows? I'm not sure if I have any with me. But anyway, well, I'll play you doing Believer because I have it right here. I'll play Whitesnake. We'll send it out to Dee.
Steal Your Heart Away.
I'll play Steal Your Heart Away, and from the Forevermore record. And, of course, going into it, because it is the current thing that's coming out, as you said, a week from tomorrow, Revolution Saints, which is you, Jack Blades, Dean Castronovo. And what was the song you wanted people to hear from this?
Well, I think, I want to tell people, this is a different thing. This is one of the reasons I was really excited about it. It's a very melodic record. It's big hooks, big 80s. It's like a big 80s, hooky chorus type of thing. And, but there's plenty of room for like extended solos and all this stuff. And I really loved it because I could one of my all-time favorites was Gary Moore, another guy that we lost a few years ago. And Gary played with such passion and intensity, but he also had this melodic side, as does Neil Schon. And so this kind of stuff, I was really excited about playing on it. So but the track I wanted you to play was called Locked Out of Paradise, because it's a little bit heavier than some of the other stuff. But they all are, all these tunes, the more you hear them, they kind of get in your head, and then you're fucked. You're trying to go to sleep.
And you know what's crazy? Talking about the Journey connection to this with Dean, is actually Arnell from Journey is on a track on here, and so is Neil Schon, right?
Yes. Neil Schon played on a song called Way to the Sun, and originally he was going to do it, and then it was schedule-wise he couldn't do it, so I put a solo on that song that I fell in love with. It's probably my favorite solo that I did. But then Neil came back and said, all right, I'm going to play. And I was like, no, but I just said, listen, please just use my version for something down the road. So it's cool because you got the same song, and you got Neil throwing down hard on it, but then I got a solo that I really like too. So people can check that out later.
So it's on the record, at least the version I have on the deluxe edition, twice, the version with Neil's solo and the version with your solo.
Right.
So that's cool.
That's
so so people can hear both versions if they get the deluxe version of the record. And the last thing on this record, Doug, I mean, I know that you've written some tremendous songs. Jack Blades has certainly written some tremendous songs, but this record was largely written by the album's producer.
Yes.
So how did that come to be? Were you guys, was it more his project and you guys came into it a little bit afterwards? Or, and what was the decision? How was the decision made to not have Jack sing so much versus Dean?
Well, I think it all stemmed from really, like I said, it was featuring Dean in the very beginning, and then it became, I think, it just became apparent that maybe the value of featuring all three guys was good too. But I mean, Jack's got a great voice. People hear Jack all the time, and it was great to have him sing. He did sing a bunch on the record. I just don't know exactly what they used or what they didn't. But I think the feature was just trying to get Dean to be the front man of this thing. Dean reminds me that when we got together, Jack was immediately the boss. He's like the general. He's been around. He knows what to do, how to handle every situation, and let's not waste time. Let's kick some ass and get out of here. And I'm kind of like, I just want my guitar with me, and I'm happy. And Dean is he's like a kid bouncing off the walls. He reminds me of a cross between Steven Tyler, Tommy Lee, and I don't know. He's like the Tasmanian devil. He's just got so much energy, and he deserves to be. I think in this situation, it's really cool, man. He's a big time star in my book, and I love to see him. I'd love to see him out front.
Well, cool. I'm going to play a track from this again. It's out a week from Tuesday, and then I'm going to back it up with you with Whitesnake, and then after that, I'll play you tributing Randy Rhoads. And we'll see. And then I've got, in about less than 15 minutes, we're going to be talking to Damon Johnson and Ricky Warwick of Black Star Riders. So at that point,
send my best to those guys because I love them. They're good friends of mine. And I heard you earlier mention you might run into Nico, and please give my best to Nico. He's like you said, he's one of the coolest guys you will ever meet.
You can't help but to smile and laugh when you hang out with Nico. He is just a total character, and it's I see him every time I go to South Florida, and it's always fun. So I will definitely send your regards to all. Cool, and congratulations to you three amigos, the triplets of terror on metal. You guys are. I mean, thank you for what you do, man, because you keep it alive, and it's a great show, and I can't wait for Geddy Lee. Yeah, we're going to shoot that tomorrow, and I'm psyched for that as well. It's going to be a great way to kick off the new season. So, Eddie, one time me and Reb and a couple guys, we went and saw Rush at we were in Frankfurt, and they filmed that concert for R30, I think it was. Now they're doing R40, right? Well, yeah, it's their 40th anniversary, and they're going out on tour, but they're doing it on their 41st anniversary. So if you know Rush and their sense of humor, that's actually how they would operate to do it a year later. They would never do it right on the year. So we go to this concert, and Marco was with us, Marco Mendoza, and we go backstage after, and we just went back to say hi to some friends that got us in, and it turns out they stuck us in the green room, and in walks Alex and Geddy. And Geddy's like, "Hey, how you guys doing? What can I get you a Coke or maybe a Diet Coke? Anything?" It wasn't like it was so funny because he
he just got done doing this huge concert filming, and he's just being a normal guy when he comes out and offering Cokes to everybody.
Yeah, those guys are the most laid back, chill, like nicest regular people who just happen to be in an iconic rock band. They're unbelievable. Yep. There's no trappings. There's no BS. I remember the one time I interviewed Neil was like in 06 for VH1 Classic. Before that metal show, he came to the. He came by himself with a backpack over his shoulder. I think the intern that answered the door thought he was delivering food. I mean, it was Neil Peart, no entourage, no nothing. He walked in. I mean, that's just how those guys are. They're great people. And we had Geddy and Alex. We had Geddy and Alex on the very first season of the show. And now here we are 5 years later having Geddy back. So it's really going to be a great way to kick things off. And once we get either back to the West Coast or you get to the East Coast, we got to get you on playing again or hanging with us because, we run this montage for the audience who are in the seats before we come out and start taping, and it shows all the people that we've had play in the history of the show, and you've done it a couple times, so they see you every time. All the in the studio audience sees you up there ripping every time because we put it up on the screens.
I know, and I really appreciate it, man, because people all over the world love that show, and they love what you guys do. And the combination of you and Don and Jim is priceless. But wait, the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to let you go. The last thing I want to tell you is, because I heard the show, it was about maybe 6 months ago, your radio show, and I don't know I think it was probably this show, and you had Chris Jericho and Mike Portnoy, and you called yourselves, what did you call yourselves? It was like the
the Metal Summit, the Meeting of the Mindless.
Meeting of the Mindless, the Metal Meatheads, or something like that.
Yeah,
I freaking laughed my ass off, man. You should pitch a show like that to VH1 for like a side show, because that in itself, just talking, you guys, it's like pouring gasoline on a campfire.
Well, I know. There's a million ideas. It's just finding people that want to do them, but there's a million ideas. It's not easy to get them off the ground, but I'm trying.
Well, thanks for having me on, Eddie. I really appreciate it, and I know I'm definitely Dean and Jack would want me to send their best, and please tell Dee I love him. I love his music, and
when I talk to him, I will, and send my best to Dean and Jack as well. And I think because I got that other interview coming up, and we talk, I think I'm going to have to kill either the Rhodes tribute or the Whitesnake song because I'm not going to have time now. So which one? Which one's going?
Well, just do the Rhodes. Just do the Rhodes because I want to hear some Randy. I want to listen to you on the way, and Revolution Saints and Rhodes, and give my best to those guys. And I'll talk to you soon, bro.
All right, man. Take care, Doug. I'll see you soon. Okay. Good luck with everything.
Thanks, Eddie. Thank you, bro.
All right, brother. There he goes. Doug Aldrich. Great guy. Great to spend some time with him, and we appreciate, of course, him checking in. A lot going on in Doug's world, and it's always good to connect and catch up some. All right, so like 9 minutes left, so I'm going to play the Randy Rhodes tribute with Doug, and then right now I'm going to play the Revolution Saints track, and then we're going to talk